Good morning, everyone. Well done with your great work. I'm sure this season for you guys, your capacity building and capacity training season is going to make you guys even better volunteers. So well done. Today, we are going to be learning about storytelling, digital storytelling, and advocacy. Thank you, Yvonne, for projecting. And Um, I I'm going to kind of go through my slide because we have an activity at the end that I want you to practice with. Because I want to ensure that every single person leaves this training with the actual skill to be able to do something with storytelling. What is storytelling? Storytelling is presenting an idea in a compelling story form. So, for instance, I could come here and I could tell you, my name is Adeboro. I'm the coordinator for the African Internet Rights Alliance. I, I, a lawyer, trained lawyer. I'm this and that. That's information. But if I wanted to present that information in storytelling form, I'd probably say 5 years ago, when I was graduating from the university, I didn't imagine that I'll be here today, having done so, so, and so, and so. That way, I am bringing you into my world, not directly, but through stories. So that's kind of what we want to talk about today. And today you will learn how to understand, or you would understand how storytelling drives advocacy. Um, Everybody here is like an advocate and a champion for civic participation and electoral activities. So you would understand how storytelling as an element of your advocacy would help and propel what you're trying to achieve. I'm also going to introduce you to a framework called the Heart Storytelling Framework, and I'll explain that later. Also, you would explore responsible storytelling practices because, again, I'm a digital rights advocate. So, in everything that I do, I try to ensure that, especially when it's digital work, I try to ensure that people are aware not just of your right, but also of your responsibility. So, how can you be a responsible storyteller? And number four is we will practice together how to build your own campaign story. All right, so let's start with why storytelling. All right. Again, like I've said many times as advocates, what we're trying to achieve is we're trying to get people to do something. That's what advocacy is. We're trying to get a decision maker to make a decision. Sometimes it's citizens in civic engagement, but trying to get them to, for instance, go and vote. That's you trying to say, go and do something. For some people, sometimes maybe you want them to come out to protest. You're trying to get them to move in the direction of this cause that you're asking them to believe in. Sometimes it's government stakeholders. We want you to pass the not too young to run bill, right? So that means you're trying to get them to do something. Sometimes you're trying to get them to stop doing something, but in a sense, it's still to do something. They're doing something and you want them to stop, so end stars, disband stars, things like that. So that's basically what our advocacy is about. But many times, because we are so into the cause, we know all the facts. We know that 5 out of 100 5 out of 6 women die every month from maternal health mortality. 200 million. We know all the facts, but facts are for information. Like how I've said, 5 out of 6 women die from maternal mortality in Nigeria. The primary health care facilities in Nigeria, 20% of them are well equipped, up to the 40% of WHO's 50%. These are information. But how can we take that information and remember our goal for advocacy is to make people move, to make people do something. So how can we take this information that we have, because we are the technical experts and we are the advocates, how can we take that information and make people move? It's through storytelling. Storytelling helps take facts that merely inform and make people move, right? Another reason why storytelling is important is because it makes our civic engagement personal and emotional. You know the saying, People are not going to care what you know, they're going to care how you treat them or something like that. I'm not sure what the saying is. But as as people who understand social movements, as people who understand human beings don't move until they feel something. Even in leadership, let's not even talk about civic engagement advocacy. Even as a leader, if you're leading a group of people, they are not going to, they may follow you because, oh, this is my KPIs, these are the things I have to do, these are just what I have to do. But until you having a personal, albeit professional relationship with your team members, and you're able to connect the vision that you're sharing with them on an emotional level, they don't have to cry, they just have to feel something. Then you're not going to make as much impact. And that's it with advocacy as well. And that's why storytelling is important, because it makes our civic engagement, it makes the activities within the civic space more personal, more emotional. Number three is that it helps to build trust and humanize issues. You guys are already advocates, so you know this, especially around political issues. People have a lot of distrust. You're coming to tell them, do this, let's say GoVote as an entity is coming out, is putting out campaigns. People are already like, whose side are you on? Are you an APC person? Are you a PDP person? Are you an LP person? What is like, everybody already has distrust, especially in Nigeria, the climate that we work in, around political and civic issues. Even things like NSARS, or things that we all band together as people and as citizens, we find that facts come out later where we are like, oh my gosh, this person was on this side. And so there's a lot of distrust, but storytelling can help humanize issues and help show that, okay, no, I'm actually not trying to be on any side. I'm trying to tell you a story to get you to move. So that's why storytelling is important. So let's look at a case study with the NSARS movement. The NSARS movement utilized a lot of storytelling. I think a lot of it was organic, but I will just try to highlight a few things from the NSARS movement to help show you how people use storytelling in action. So you must recall that it actually did not start in 2020. I know in October 2020 is when everything kind of blew up, and there was the whole shooting, sadly, in October. But this whole movement had started in 2017. I think there's a side lesson here for us as advocates, is that movements come in momentum. So for instance, if you're thinking of the next general election, which I believe is in 2027, if my math is correct, we have to start yesterday, because that's what movements are. You have to start with momentum. But anyway, even from 2017, you can see that people already started to employ storytelling. Someone here is tweeting and saying, first of all, they have a hashtag, which is clear, NSARS. It's the demand. It's what we are asking for, right? And then with that hashtag, you're able to propel people to tell their stories. You're able to propel not just stories of this is what happened to me, but you can even tell fictitious or fictional stories where you say, I am afraid for what will happen to me. I'm afraid for the future of my children. These are things that humanize the issues. So you see Esther here say, honestly, I'm scared for myself because when I get home every day, but because of when I get home every day, because I think she gets home at night, but I'm even more afraid for my husband and brothers. Now, this person has taken the NSARS issue and has taken it away from just a political conversation of, politics and policy. It's no more a policy and politics issue. I'm a human being. I have to work late. I have a home. I'm scared when I go home. So now we are humanizing the issue. There's a human being behind this problem. And she's saying, you know what? Even as scared as I am, I actually have a husband. So now we're talking about a family setting. We're a family. I'm getting home late. I'm scared for my life. But my husband I'm even scared more for my husband's life or my husband's life. And I have brothers. I'm scared for them. So now NSAS is no more a political issue. It's no more a policy matter, even though it is those issues, and those are the channels and mechanisms through which SARS will be ended, quote unquote. But now people are humanizing it because they are bringing in stories about themselves, right? You can see another tweet where someone posts a video and they say, oh, it's really getting out of hand. This happened after they shot a guy in the arm on Thursday. Now, this is visual, audio visual content accompanying the NSAS movement to say, this is real, this is happening. Look, here's a video to show for it. And then I like that Chidi in 2017, which is kind of like a popular Twitter user, had already mentioned. He says, take a moment to check out the NSAS hashtag, lend your voice to it. Revolutions have started on social media, and hopefully this will be one of them. So he called it, right? This actually came to pass. And this, for me, points out also your storytelling. Previously, storytelling would have to be like something that you would need a whole mechanism behind. But as advocates and as champions, you can actually lead, a very good revolution. Revolution doesn't have to be negative on social media. And so this digital storytelling, right? Next slide. So let's go down to 2020 and what it kind of looks like. We started to see people, and these were not even active campaigns. These were websites and journalists. But what they were doing, instead of just reporting what was happening, and there's a way you can report and you can campaign around laws and around policies and around the responsibilities of decision makers. You can say, you know what, in Lagos and in Abuja, the SARS operatives have been according to this law and according to that law and according to the fundamental rights enforcement procedure. These are all true. However, some people decided to go the storytelling route. And so in this, I'm actually now sad that I did not put the website, but I'm not sure what website is this. But these people decided that instead they will tell stories of people who had actually had real experiences from these SARS movements. And so you can see, her saying in her own words, she's 32 years old. They put her age there for a reason. It's not just fact. It's to humanize the problem. To say, this is Ogechi Ibani. She is 32 years old. She is from Abuja, because who knows if decision maker may have someone in their lives whose name is Ogechi, who is 32, who is also from Abuja, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is real. And then she tells her story. This is Isaiah. He is 32 years old. He is from Lagos. You can see in this picture, there's a cake. This is actually a cake where someone is wearing a white shirt with blood all over him, and they wrote NSAS. That cake in itself is storytelling. Nobody needs to come out and say, oh, as you can see in this cake, there's a man. Just seeing this cake alone tells a story, right? And this is how different, I'm showing you different mediums through which, storytelling can be done. Next slide. For the NSAS movement, poets also came together to they came up with a whole compendium of poetry. And so you see this one called Nigeria Will Not End Me, which was actually the last tweet tweeted by someone who was shot at the Lekki tollgate thing, right? So his last tweet was Nigeria Will Not End Me. And someone takes that and decides, I'm going to zoom in on this person's last tweet, which is ironic because Nigeria ended him. And I'm going to create a poem from it. You see, so that storytelling, that she could have written a poem called Nigeria Will Not End Me, and it could have been a nice poem. But the fact that it was the last words, and so as an advocate and as an electoral champion, these are the kind of things you can also start to think around, like what are already existing stories that I can highlight to tell my own story and to get people to move, right? So if you're trying to get, for instance, someone to get their PVC, is there like an old man in the village who you interviewed whose biggest regret was that he never voted, right? And you're trying to target young people. So, and he says, maybe in the interview, he says, I wonder what life would have become if I cast my own vote. So you can decide that we're doing a whole campaign called If I Cast My Own Vote. And then you're getting people to talk about what their future will look like if they cast their own vote. And you're getting old people who didn't vote to say, I wonder what life will look like if I cast my own vote. You see, so these are different poems. Someone says the title of their poem is Red, White, Green. And already that gives a visual imagery because they're trying to say that our flag is green, white, green. But because of what happened at the toll gate, that green turned to red. And so it was a mix of colors. It became red, white, green. Those are that's just a way to use imagery in storytelling. Next slide, please. People also release movies and documentaries. So I'm just trying to show you different ways through which people tell stories as a form of campaign, right? And advocacy. So people also, there's literally a movie on the NSAS thing, which is kind of like a documentary. Next slide. People also did visual storytelling, right? There's this guy, this person on YouTube who, did comics to just show, and there's a voiceover under saying, just because I have dreads, just because I have this, just because I have that. So what you want to do as an advocate, what you want to do as a campaigner is you want to appeal to different classes of people. Some people will read long reports. You know how in our space we always produce reports. We can produce reports. That's great. But some people watch movies. Some people would rather watch a movie. Some people would rather read a comic. Some people are more moved with graphics. So if you see this graphic here, it's a hand of solidarity, but you can see the names of every single person who was killed forming that hand. So you see, that's also a way to tell stories visually. They haven't said anything. They just put answers, but they put the names of everyone who went through. Just give me a second, please. Okay. All right. So next slide. So that, I hope you've been able to see how storytelling kind of propelled the NSAS movement. I know that the NSAS movement was to disband SARS, but maybe it was not disbanded, but our voices were heard. People abroad heard. They were protests in London. They were protests everywhere. It was a movement. And remember, our goal is to get people to move. If the NSAS advocates really just, all they just did was tell people, SARS is bad, 1 out of 10 more boys, 3 out of 2 people, storytelling is very important. You cannot do without it if you're going to have a successful advocacy or campaign activity. So now let's go to the next part of this, which is this framework that I want you to leave with. This is what I want you to leave with when you're telling every story. And it's broken down as HEART, heart. And each letter stands for something, right? To help you craft your story. So H stands for hook. This is not even just about advocacy anymore. It's generally in life. If you're trying to get someone's attention, if you're trying to get someone to do something, for instance, you're in an interview for a job and you're trying to get them to employ you. That's what you're trying to do. That's why you're in the interview. They tell you, tell us about the time when you led. The first thing you have to do is hook them. Because attention is a currency now in life, especially now that people are exposed to so much content. You want to say something, you want to do something, you want to have a moment that hooks them. So for instance, if you're saying, tell us about the time when, this is not on topic, but tell us about the time when you exhibited leadership qualities. You can start by saying, I've been a leader from my mother's womb. Now, everybody's like, what do you mean I've been a leader from my mother's womb? And then you go ahead to say that, I was the firstborn and blah, 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 blah. And then you go into your real leadership story. But what you've done with your age is you've hooked them. And it's the same thing with even digital campaigns and advocacy. You have to grab their attention. They have to be, that's why you see people, that's the idea of viral posts. That's the idea of viral content. And it's sad that a lot of people who are doing this for like commercial purposes, economical purposes, social influencers, commercial influencers, they understand this. If you look at someone like, for instance, Aproko Doctor, you watch his videos many times because the first thing he says or the first thing he does, it hooks you. Emeka, you think what you're doing. Everybody's like, okay, what are you talking about? So that's something we must import into our own advocacy and storytelling as well. The E stands for emotion. After you hook people, let them know what is at stake. Show them the human side of things. Why should I care what you're saying? Why should I care? There are so many problems in the world. Why should I vote? What has voting done for me? Why should this concern me? So that's the E. The emotional part has to be there. The A is action. After you tell them why they should care, tell them what they must do. Earlier in the advocacy scene in Nigeria, especially the digital rights advocacy scene, we're missing this A part of it. And I remember I used to work with an organization where we used to say a lot, like we used to talk a lot about, we used to do a lot of campaigns, digital rights campaigns, and we used to say, this is at stake, journalists are dying, this is happening, blah, 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 citizens are this. And one day, a government person that we had been talking to, because we were not getting any results, and the government person just said, please, I want to ask a question. You've been saying what is happening, people are dying. We have never heard you people say what we should do. What should we actually do about this? So in your storytelling, you must ensure that if you're talking to citizens and you're telling them each vote counts, your vote counts for your children. No. Okay, what should they do about this information? You must also make it part of your story. So that's very important. And the next thing is R, results. So what changed because of what was done, or what will not change because of what you don't do? So if you do this, here's why you should care, emotion. Here's what you should do because you care, action. And here's what will happen because you have done something. So you have to connect, because not everybody can see it. Remember, you are the expert. You can see that, if people register early and they get their PVC and they find out their polling units, then we can change, the tide of Nigeria. But not everybody sees it like that. So you must also spell out the results. What will change? What is the change that will be occasioned? And finally, take action. What should you do? You have to come back to what should you do now. So you see that action comes out twice because it's so important. Remember, the goal of advocacy is to get people to move. So it's fitting that action comes twice. First, you tell them what to do. You tell them what will become of it. And then you tell them again, here is what to do now. Okay? So I've done an example, and we're going to run through my own example before we now go to your own example. So what I'm trying to do, my format for this, my example, is I'm trying to create a digital campaign video. What is my aim for this campaign video? I want to increase first-time voter turnout in the 2027 general elections. So I'm an electoral champion. They've given me this brief. How can we increase people who voted for the first time? That's most likely 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, people that that's their first time voting in the next coming elections than we had in 2023. That's my goal. And I've decided there are many ways I can do that. I want to do tweets, I want to do visuals, but for this particular example, I want to create a digital campaign video. So how can I use storytelling to achieve a good video? The first thing I'm going to do is, who is my audience, right? I'm thinking, who is my audience? Okay, these are first-time voters. Most likely, my first-time voters are going to be people who are 18, 19, 20, right? There are some people who are 30, 40, who maybe did not vote before, but for the purpose of my work, I want to focus on people who are 18, 19, 20 by 2027. How old are these people now? Maybe 16, maybe 15 years old. So now I've decided, okay, my audience is 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, probably in secondary school, probably ending secondary school, because I know that in 2027, they'll be eligible to vote. And I want them to vote for the first time. All right. So next slide. Let's start with our age. Hook. What will I use to hook them in this video? I'm going to do my research. What are 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds liking? They're liking, I don't know, memes, TikTok videos. What are the current trends? So now I've settled on using, I don't know if you guys know that video where they start the video by somebody in a very crazy position, maybe falling down from a bike or something. Then they'll pause it and say, yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. Hey, that's what I chose. So I've decided that my opening scene will be a young girl pushing through a long queue of people. She's waving her PVC. Let's say a polling booth, basically. She's waving a PVC. There's a crowd. maybe her wig is almost falling off, and then it will pause, and then she'll say, "Yep, that's me." You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. That is a hook. That is a proven hook because he's already been hooking people. I already know he's hooks people, so I'm just going to use it. For especially because it's my 16-year-old. If I'm looking for a 60-year-old, from if what I'm trying to communicate is to a 60-year-old, I probably will not do that. But it's a 16-year-old, she will probably keep watching. He will probably keep watching. So I will cut my scene after she says, "You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation, in this chaotic crowd." I will now cut to her scrolling through her phone, watching TikTok memes, because that's what the audience that I'm targeting can relate to. Then she will say, "I used to scroll past all those vote stuff. Like, okay, cool. What does that have to do with me?" Well, guys, I voted for the first time at 18 years old in 2023, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. Get ready with me while I tell you about it. So now, again, this is it's a storytelling in storytelling because she's trying to tell the audience, get ready with me. First of all, we all know get ready with me is something that audience they like to watch. So get ready with me while I tell you about me voting for the first time in 18 when I was 18 years old in 2023 and why it was the best thing I've ever done. So you see, that's a hook. Next is emotions. So how do I infuse emotions into the story? Next slide, please. So the visuals, let's say she's brushing her edges, she's tying her scarf. I want her to look into the mirror, kind of looking into the camera. And then she'll say, you guys, that year, everything was expensive. Well, struggle. We used to queue for hours. Jen will not still run long. Nepa was playing hide and seek with us. They'll be turning up the lights every 10 minutes. Then one day, see how she's talking about issues that normally you could have said the electricity distribution level. Our audience does not need that. Our audience needs a story. One night, I saw my mommy sitting in the kitchen. She was crying over the price of rice. Rice, you guys, something that we used to buy without thinking about. You see, she has brought in cost of living into this conversation without saying cost of living. She's just talking about her mom sitting in the kitchen, crying over a price of rice. And we used to buy rice normally before, but now, as she says, that was when it hit me. Somebody somewhere is making these choices that are messing with our lives. And me, I'm just here, I'm vibing, I'm posting memes. No. And it was in that moment I realized if I don't show up, they will keep acting like I don't matter. So I said, why not me? Why not my voice? Me too, I'm going to go and do things. So you see, in that one thing, I've spoken about economic issues, but I've also appealed to emotion. I've shown that my mommy was crying about the price of rice. And I've also said what I did. I decided I'm going to show up. So next action. What did she do? Right? So at this point, she's now wearing different outfits. She's grabbing her voter's card, she's carrying her phone, she's carrying her power bank, she's carrying a bottle of water, and she's going to the polling unit. Remember that polling unit we saw in the beginning? She's going there. And so she's saying, so I registered early. I got my PVC. I checked my polling unit. I joined a community of first-time voters. I watched all the candidate manifestos. You see, these are things that as electoral champions, we're trying to get people to do. We're saying, hey, everybody register early, get your PVC. But we don't always have to say that directly. She's saying what she did, but the 16-year-old that is watching is noting it that, so this is what I must do. I must register early. I must get my PVC like she did. I must check my polling unit. I must join a community of first-time voters. I must watch all the manifestos. I must do a lot of research. She said, I did a lot of research. And on election day, I packed my water, I wore my sneakers, and I queued in the sun for hours. So you are managing expectations as well. You are telling them, you are going to queue for long, but you are going to stay. Because that's part of casting your vote. That's part of civic activity. So she said, people left, but I stayed. You're also telling those 16-year-olds, people will leave, but you must stay to cast your vote. Because I wasn't just casting a vote, I was showing up, and that matters. I was showing that I matter, my voice matters. So that's the action I want you to take. I'm telling you that I took that action. Right? Next, result. So at this point, she has finished casting her vote. She's looking tired. She's walking back home. and then she's talking. What was the result? Did my candidate win? No. So what you're trying to say with this story is that you don't vote, like you vote for your candidate to win, but sometimes your candidate will not win. So what is that a failed, is that a reason why I should not vote if I know my candidate will not win? Especially if that's the story I'm trying to tell. No. But what did she say? She said, but I learned how the system works. So that's a result. Learning how the system works. Like there are people in Nigeria who don't even know, they don't even know what voting looks like, how the system works, what is the polling unit, what is the PDC. But she said that's a result I got from participating. I learned how the system works. I made my voice count. That's also a result, because if my candidate got 500 votes, without me, he would have gotten 499 votes. So I actually made my voice count. I influenced my friends, and they are already planning for the 2027 election. So that's another result. I influenced my friends. The people in power, they saw my strength. That's another result. And now they engage with youth differently. So next time, I'm not coming alone. I'm bringing 10 friends and I'm bringing their moms too. So you see, these are the results from the possibility of telling someone, go and vote. Even if your candidate does not win, these are the other things you will achieve. And finally, take action. So in my video, the girl gets to her bed, she's tired, but she's happy. And she looks up to the camera, and then this is where she directly now talks to the person watching. She says, you are 16 years old now, but that gives you time to make smart decisions, ask questions, and get your PVC ready. Because by 2027, we are not just going to be watching the elections from our timeline. We are all pulling up at the polls. So you see, this is a nice reel or TikTok video, but it's a powerful digital campaign tool that we've used to reach 16-year-olds in their own language. And we've told a nice story that will get them to take action. So, of course, then digital marketing, you now sponsor the polls, you play it at secondary schools.
Hi, Adebo. I think you are frozen. I don't know if it's from my end alone.
Same here.
Hi, Adebo.
We are not listening to the
Okay.
program anymore.
I can't hear her again.
Okay.
I think it's a network. Let's give her a minute or two to sort it. Hi, Adebo. Can
Okay.
you hear us? I think our internet. Okay, so she left, she will rejoin. So let's just give her like a minute. That's what we see with technology, some of those technological issues. You can drop your
Yeah.
your question in the comment section. Deborah, are you back?
I am back. I'm so sorry. I didn't even know my internet went off. Please, where did I stop?
Okay. Maybe you should just do a recap of take action again, because some people didn't actually
Okay.
get you. You were frozen.
Okay, no problem. So in take action for my own video, what I'm doing is the girl has gotten home, she's tired, she's on her bed, but she's happy. And then the camera goes up. And this is the moment, remember, this is the moment we want people to take, to know what to do. And so she speaks directly to our audience to say, you are 16 years old now, but that gives you time to get smart, ask questions, and get your PVC ready, because by 2027, we are not just watching from the timeline, we are pulling up to the polls. So she's explained to them that, listen, this is what you are going to do. You're going to start asking questions. You're going to get ready to get your PVC, because by 2027, you'll be eligible to vote. And you are not just going to be scrolling through social media. You're going to the polls to cast your votes. So that is the moment where you get them to take action. And I was saying, and now I've forgotten what I was saying, but I was saying that you have created, oh, I remember now, you have created this powerful video that you can use in different forms. You can sponsor it, you can play it on radio, you can play it in schools, you can do a challenge to get people to do voiceovers for it or whatever. But it's a good video because it's short, it's actual digital campaign, it's it aligns with the audience that you're trying to target, and it uses storytelling. It has all the elements of our framework of storytelling, which is hook, emotions, action, um, result, and take action. All right. So next slide. Responsible storytelling. Before you get to your own assignments, because we're about to do a task. No, you don't have to create video content. So like I said, I chose for my examples for you to be video content. Yours can be a tweet, it can be an article, it can be a banner, it can be anything. Just make sure that you find a way to put all these elements into it. All right. So if you're going to tell stories, you have to be responsible while at it. Number one, fact check, verify names. If it's fictitious, if it's a fiction story, you can put an asterisk and say a fictitious character, right? So make sure you fact check. If it's a real story, if you can reach out to the person you're telling the story, the person who has the story to be sure what were the dates, when did this happen? Did this happen during the protest or before the protest? Right. So fact checking is very important so that your stories are more credible. Number two, don't exaggerate. Don't bother exaggerating, especially because if your cause is if your cause is true, if your cause is actually important enough for it to be a cause, just tell it as it is. Don't exaggerate facts. Don't incite. Inciting means trying to get people to do something bad, to hate someone, to don't try to do that. Just tell your story, right? Also, don't exploit. Exploiting is taking advantage of people who are vulnerable, using their story in a way that exploits them, in a way that takes advantage of them for another cause. You can ensure the dignity of people. You can ensure that people are respected in storytelling and still get across the point, right? Yeah. So next is if you're using images, real names, or quotes, please get consent or attributes. So if you're using a quote, especially if it's a public quote, of course, attributes, say who said it. But if it's a quote that was said to you in private, please get their consent. So don't look and do a banner of a woman maybe who lost her child at a stampede, and she was just talking to you, and she said something that was so emotionally deep that you're like, this is perfect storytelling. And you want to use her quote, but you didn't ask her for permission. So ask her, say, can I use, you said this to me, can I use this quote for this campaign that I'm doing? Right. Next is to stay aligned on your mission, right? What is the truth you are trying to pass across? Stay focused on it. Don't, some people come and meet you, oh, can you also talk about this other thing? I'm trying to build trust. People know that I'm trying to talk about this. People know that I'm trying to talk about this. So, I'm sorry, I heard it sound. Okay. People know I'm trying to talk about this. That's what I'm trying to focus on. Next is advocacy is not equal to manipulation. So don't think, oh, storytelling. I'm going to use my storytelling to manipulate people. Goal is not to manipulate people. The goal, remember, is to get them to move in the direction of what you believe is true. So you're trying to get them to humanize the problem, to feel something, but not manipulation. Don't say, if you don't speak up against this, you are the worst of the worst. You are bad. You are the problem of this country. Right? Say what you're trying to get them to say. Let them see what the real issues are and leave them to make their own decision. All right. So now let's go to our task. Next slide. Our task. Interactive story lab. How many are we? We are 19, right? Maybe so for this one, I would give it both as a classwork here. I don't even think we have time for a classwork because we have some things to do after. But I'll be happy if you can submit this after, right? I want you to take some time to look at it. But I would also love to hear some people's initial thoughts about how you approach this. So now, here's the classwork. Pick one of these common voting myths in Nigeria to challenge. So your campaign is you want to challenge one of these voting myths. Number one, my vote does not count. That's what you want to address in your campaign. You want to let people know that their votes count. So, sorry about that. So maybe you want to tell people your vote counts. So this is what you want to. Number two, all the candidates are the same. Number three, they've already decided who will win. Number four, young people cannot change anything. Number five, it is too dangerous or too stressful to vote. So pick one of these myths that you want to challenge through storytelling. Now, after you pick it, you will use the heart structure that we spoke about. So you choose whether you want to do it through a Twitter thread, X thread. So you want to do a campaign with a hashtag and Twitter thread, whether it's an Instagram post you want to make, whether it is a short video script, you want to do a video or a TikTok video, or you want to do WhatsApp VC or WhatsApp voice note. You know how there's some audience that need WhatsApp VC, like our parents. So you, based on your audience as well, you can decide which of these you want to do. Now, you create the content using the ART structure, addressing any of these myths, one of these myths. So remember, let's just recap. Hook, you grab attention with a quote, an image, a bold moment, or something. Just make sure you're grabbing the attention. Emotion, please let us know what is at stake. Why should we care about this matter? And I think all candidates are the same. Why should I care that you are saying all candidates are not the same? Next, action. Okay, what did you do in response? What can somebody do in response? What has somebody done before in response? What can I do in response? Or maybe somebody thought before that all candidates are the same, but one day their own father was running for election and they realized their father is not the same. So what did they do to be sure their father is not the same? I don't know. Is your assignment. Then number R, result. What changed? So the story you are telling, what changed as a result of the action that was taken? And lastly, what should the person you are talking to? This one it must not be missing. It's not the most important, but it must not be missing. What should they do after you've told us this story? What should we do about it? So this is the assignment. You submit to Yvonne, who will share with me, and I'll take a look at it. But I hope with these few points of mine, I have been able to show you, like Robert McKee says, that storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world.
Okay, Deborah, thank you so much for the very, very insightful session. I learned so much. So I would like to ask, in a country that is as diverse as us, with different languages and all that, we know there are people who are not so literate, but they are in the digital space. How can we use digital stories to tell election stories or captivate them or make them understand why they should participate in the governance process and why it matters?
Absolutely. So, you're welcome, Dahir. So absolutely. So if you noticed, even when I was doing my own sample, I first defined my audience, because you can tell a story that is so powerful, but the audience is wrong, your story becomes not powerful. So like you said, because Nigeria was so diverse, the first thing is you cannot purport as a Nigerian. Maybe if you're an American, you can say, I'm telling a story to all 17-year-olds in America, because you know that all 17-year-olds speak English. But Nigeria is too diverse for that. So the first thing you must even hack is, who am I trying to reach? What language do they speak? Where are they? So like I said, if you're trying to reach women between 40 to 50 years old, where are they? Women in the rural areas between 40 to 40 years old. You are not going to do a TikTok video. You're not going to speak English. You're probably going to say, okay, even this women self, which rural area? Is it Yoruba rural area? Is it in the Delta, in Niger Delta? Is it in Lagos? Right? Now, if it's Yoruba village, Ogun State, now we know we are getting closer. I'm going to do what's it called? I'm going to do a Yoruba storytelling banner. Or if they are on WhatsApp, I'm going to do a Yoruba BC from GoVote, a Yoruba BC. Or I'm going to do a Yoruba video where I know I'll pass it around. Maybe you know how the Yoruba video that has an opportunity to pass around. Or I will go to radio and host a Yoruba show. Or I will speak pidgin. So the hack for Nigeria as a setting is to first define the audience. Where can we find them? What can they resonate with? What do they trust? Who do they trust? And that's where influencers also come in for collaborations. Who do they trust? What language do they speak? So ensuring to be audience sensitive, to speak pidgin, for instance. Some people are like this digital storytelling we are talking about. Some people are not even on digital. So maybe you can definitely use digital tools to do a banner that says, you know how all this UNICEF, they are trying to teach women the importance of breastfeeding. They are not, they have their website, but they've crafted banner that says something in Igbo that says breastfeeding your child for the first 6 months is very important. Then, or they can do a picture of a child, 2 children. One is healthy, one looks like they have kwashiorkor, and they just on top of the child that has kwashiorkor, they just say not breastfed. The child that is healthy breastfed. That's storytelling because you've used pictures to show that these are 2 children. One did not take breast milk, one took breast milk, and you see. So in election, it also depends on what the story you're trying to tell is, what you're trying to get them to do. Are you trying to get them to vote or not sell their vote? Let's say, I don't want you to sell your vote. You can now put 2 pictures, America, find things, maybe an old woman in America, she's living in a retirement home, she has a beautiful farm, she's also 60 years old, and you show that she goes to the polling unit every day, every year, every time it's time for election, she votes, she does not sell her vote. Then you show an old woman in Africa that this woman can relate to. Every time she collects rice to sell her vote. Meanwhile, her counterpart in America is the one that is making the rice that they are selling to you. Just because she did not sell her vote, she's able to produce the rice because she voted for good government. But you are selling your vote that can make you to be producing rice, to collect rice that will last you for 1 month. You see, that's a story that you've told. That emotions for them because they're like, what? You mean I can be like this woman that is producing rice, but now I'm selling my rice? No. I'll vote so I can produce my rice. So you see, that's how to go about it.